So I teased my team that they ask me to do the parts they don't like to do and answer the questions they don't want to answer. So here I am to do the funding justification tool, which I know all of you looked at and said, oh, hooray, it's the answer to my prayers. But I'm going to take us through a little at a time here. The different tools we're going to try and use to build the funding picture. What I'd like to reassure you is that, well, when we develop a new tool, we don't always know how it's going to turn out. We're doing it because we are really trying to support your ability to communicate key things to the volunteers. And while you are all very distinct entities, there are some things we can do to present similar slices of information so that the volunteers are looking at things in a reasonably similar way, okay? So, what I want you to all do right now is take a big deep breath, because we can make things look hard. They're not intended to. We're really just trying to find ways to help you tell a story in a format. You will notice that there is no agency budget form associated with this RFP proposal, because we will ask you to submit an agency budget form when you go through your accountability review process. So there's really no need for us to have that particular document. We're going to focus on the strategy budgets, okay? So we've tried to eliminate multiple documents. However, it's really important that you utilize this impact strategy budget form to the best of your ability and reflect as much of the information as you can. And some of you have asked, why do I have to do an impact strategy budget and then do a funding justification tool? Partly it's about layers. We have to slice this information a little bit differently to show it to the volunteers in different forms. The impact strategy budget is still generally aligned with the 990 formats and instructions. We tried to make it do that so that also if we use, say, your last year's 990, there's some comparability between the information on the 990 and what is in each of these line items in your impact strategy budget. So that's still pretty much the same. We have not made a bunch of changes to this. You will notice, I'd just like to get credit for a moment, even if you don't want to give me credit. Sorry. I try and make you laugh, because otherwise, you guys, it just feels like everyone's really tense. And I feel like we need to have a Zen moment. We took all the years off of this. Do you remember last time around, for those of you who did it, please project. See, someone said yay. That's all I wanted. And I got a clap. So I'm 2 for 2. We asked you to project until like 2020 how you thought your budget was going to change. Frankly, the last couple of years have taught us that who the hell knows? So tell us what you did last year. Tell us what you think you're going to do next year, and we'll assume it'll be a lot the same going forward. All of you knew this a long time, and you said it to us a bunch of times. We're a little slow, but we got it. So we're trying to slim it down. We want to know what you did last time, what you think you're going to do for the first year of your funding. But this is where the narrative gets to be really, really important. Please use it. If you have changes, meaningful changes in line items on this budget from one year to the next, it behooves you to give us a one-sentence description of why it changed. And something more than we bought more stuff, okay? We had a change in staffing because we took on this program, or we had a reduction in staffing because we stopped doing this program, or we had a new source of funding for this year. We don't expect to have it next year. We got a Momentum Fund grant. We'll have it for 2 years. Please note we won't have it in the 3rd year of this grant. Just tell us so that we understand where there may or may not be some volatility in your funding, okay? we understand too that generally everybody could practically put on some narrative comments about haven't got a clue what the government will do. Okay? But if you have some notion about how that might impact you, how healthcare reform might impact some of your decisions or some of your funding streams, please give us a little snapshot of that. We're really looking for sentences here. And people, I can't tell you how many hours we've talked about 10% or $10,000, 10% and $10,000. You know, use your best judgment. If you are a smaller program with a budget under $100,000, only asking you to reflect on $10,000 changes might miss something kind of meaty. Okay? So tell us. Err on the side of just a bullet point. Tell us the line number and what's the point. So, and you know, we don't need to know if you're buying 7 more boxes of Kleenex. That's really not our intention. You know what I mean. So use your best judgment, because it also means that you end up getting less of those irritating emails from us. You know, line 12, we noticed. So impact strategy, budget form, please use the schedules. It does help us to know, and especially the in-kind schedule. So Schedule E is other income, where we kind of want to know, especially if you put a whole bunch of stuff on line 8 in other revenue, it's a big number, we are going to ask you for the detail. If you don't give it to us, I guarantee you we will come back and ask you, where is that coming from? We're just trying to understand your funding context. Schedule F, everyone defines miscellaneous differently. My experience is that miscellaneous is all the stuff we can't tie to one of our grants. Some people put field trips in there. Some people put unexpected whatever in there, you know, unanticipated income. I don't care what you put in there, mostly. I just want you to tell me what it is, okay? Especially when it starts getting up over several $1,000s. We're going to want to know. And then the last one, Schedule G, non-cash contributions. This really relates back to that question we asked you, I think it was in Section C, about other inputs, other resources. If, I'll use the ARC as an example, and I don't frankly know how who's here from the ARC? Thank you, sorry. I look out at all of you and I have a hard time after a while finding everybody. So if one of the critical elements of your summertime program is that you use space in area high schools, and maybe you've never accounted for that before, you might want to put that on there. There's a value associated with that kind of space. If you're using some other kind of technical expertise or other kinds of donated things, knowing that, you know, I can think of an example from the Salvation Army, and again, I don't recall how you've accounted for this in the past, but given the current meat shortage, you know, the value of what has typically been a donated source of protein has a significant impact, a swing, and that non-cash contribution has a significant implication for the organization. And by putting it on that schedule, you allow for that to be considered as part of the total resource pool and a significant element if something shifts. Does that make sense? So we're simply trying to give you credit for all of the creative ways you make your programs go. Okay? Oh, and the funding requested. So here's the deal with our guidance around percent of budget. And here's the other way you deal with that is by accounting for some of your non-cash contributions, accounting for the things that your agency puts into the running of your program. We don't want to be, you may want us to be, but we don't want to be 70% or more of your program budget. We don't. It's a vulnerable place for you to be. We want to see that there is a diversity of resources that support a program that you care about. Okay? So it's guidance. None of this means that if we got to your strategy budget and you said that we were 71% of the dollars into the program, that we'd all go like this and go, well, never mind. That's not it. It's guidance. Please use it. Please consider how you want to reflect the composition of the budget to run your strategy. Also remember this, you're proposing the whole strategy, not just the part we fund. And we've worked through this with a number of our partners over the last couple of years. We want you to tell us the whole story, not just the slice we fund. It serves you best. Because for most of you, sometimes we're 5 or 10% of your overall budget. And we understand that our dollars may be the most flexible because you can apply them in different ways than you can apply things that are tied, particularly to state and federal grant money. So maybe you need to back up, okay? Maybe it's one activity stream in an overall strategy we've been funding, and we've been so narrowly focused that it looks like we're the sole funder. But maybe we aren't, okay? Just offering up some suggestions for you about how to think about that. Oh, I've already pretty much said all this. If you're going to reflect a budget deficit on your strategy form, which may be a very reasonable thing for you to do, it is not a reasonable thing for you to do. You know, I'm probably like, we're videotaping this, so probably my belt is just the only thing that's going to be on our videotape for the people who couldn't be here today. Sorry. I'll say sorry to them. So, anyways, showing a deficit on your impact strategy budget, if you're doing it to make us feel bad and, and therefore give you more money, not so much, okay? On the other hand, if your strategy truly does create a deficit that is funded by some other mechanism, that might be a reasonable thing to do. Or if your just past fiscal year experienced a deficit, which you somehow filled, that's fine, because you're telling us, here's what it looks like. We had a conversation with Waypoint about the impact of free preschool and DHS reimbursement rates and all of that. If the drain on the resources is bigger than the influx of resources, but you've resolved it. The critical piece is you've resolved it or you have a plan to resolve it. Being scarlet and telling us that you'll think about it on Thursday probably isn't going to work either, okay? We really think we'll figure it out. I'm doing that right now with the grant application I'm writing. It'll be fine. I get that, but I know that all of you have 2 or 3 strategies that you use when you find yourself facing a potential imbalance of dollars in and dollars out. You just need to tell us what it is, okay? Because if you leave an unexplained deficit on your impact strategy budget, I guarantee you that that will be a big question at your site visit, and I don't think you want to spend your time there, okay? And again, if you feel like there's some very specific financial opportunities or threats, assume that we all know and accept that state funding changes and federal funding changes are both an opportunity and a threat for all of us. So we're really talking about something besides that, okay? If there's a new business opportunity, I look at Mike because somebody always wants you to give more transportation. But if there is a new strategy opportunity that might allow you to access a different set of resources or serve a different client pool, tell us what that is. That's an opportunity to give us a little bit of that window. Again, remembering how many points you get for this section, so choose what it is you think is most meaningful for the volunteers.